Hey guys, Barron Beltz, the wine missionary, here with you today. One of the most frequently asked questions that I've received: how did you get started in this business? I'll tell you straight up, my story is not typical at all. So if you think that like trying to follow my story for your life is gonna work, probably not. Here goes anyway. During my last bit of school, I was night stocking at Tom Thumb grocery store there in the North Texas area. That's night stocking, like putting groceries away, not stalking. Anyway, I was pretty good at it. And man, I really thought that I was making it big. I was making $6 an hour at this time. That's ridiculous. But anyway, I was doing pretty well, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. And it didn't take too long. One of the grocery managers approached me and said, hey, there's a position open at one of the other store locations, and they're looking for a frozen food manager. Well, I'm thinking to myself, like, manager? I'm management material. This is awesome. I took them up on it and said, yeah, I'll do it. I went to work at this other Tom Thumb. Guys, this is the thing though. I had to get to work at 4 a.m. every single day that I worked. That's super early for a young man. Anyway, I thought it was a promotion, but once I started to realize that having frozen hands, literally frozen fingers constantly in this job, they probably just can't find too many people to actually do this job. So anyway, I did that for some time, but I can tell you I was really getting tired of that. Not only, getting to work by 4 a.m., but it was difficult work as well. So what I started doing was I started watching all the different vendors that were coming into the store. The milk guy, milk delivery guy, and oh my goodness, man, this guy is literally moving hundreds of pounds of milk jugs and dairy products. That guy was like loading his truck at midnight. No way I want to do that. The Lay's chips guys, with Doritos, slinging around little bags and putting them on the shelves all day. That just didn't seem that great to me either. Watching the Coke guys, Dr. Pepper guys, and oh my goodness, you want to talk about some hard work, and their hands are always sticky, and yeah. I just wasn't into any of that. Even like watch the Red Baron pizza guy and thinking, no, I'm done with the frozen fingers thing, right? One day, I see this guy that walks into the front of the store, and he grabs a shopping cart. He's a salesman, because all salesmen look the same. Salesman, you know what I mean by that. Anyways, walking into the store with a shopping cart, he walks straight over to the water section. That's what we used to call it back in those days. This guy comes in, he walks up to a very small section. He's looking at Clearly Canadian. I don't know if you guys remember the blue kind of teardrop shaped bottles, and they were like, natural spring water, sparkling, cherry, loganberry, blackberry, and so on. He was writing something down on a sheet of paper. He goes to the back room, he pulls out some stock, puts it into the cart, goes back out to the shelf, puts it back on the shelf, goes and talks to the manager for a minute, and he leaves. And I'm thinking to myself, that is the job right there. That's awesome. The next time that he came in, I approached him. There's no stranger to me. Mike, you know who you are. I still thank God for you. And I asked him, I said, man, what is this thing that you do? Like, I've watched all the other vendors, and wow, what you're doing really seems amazing. He said, well, I work for a company, and it's actually a wine and spirits company, but we have a non-alcohol division that they called the water division back then. And that was the part of the company that he worked for. And he said, you know what, we're hiring. You should call, and I guarantee you that you would get a job. So I'll be honest, I drug my feet a little bit. And then next time he was in the store, he's like, hey, did you call him yet? I told you that you were going to call him. And I said, no, I haven't. He said, you've got to call him. I made an appointment, went in for that interview, had a quick conversation, and before I knew it, the job was mine. I was really excited about it. But what I didn't know at that time was that Mike had what was called a pre-sales job. In other words, what he did, he went from store to store and made those orders and made those sales, and then someone else came in and delivered it. But the job that they were hiring for me was, I was literally driving an 18-foot Penske rental truck that was full of hundreds of cases of clearly Canadian. But my job was to drive this truck to each store, each convenience store, grocery store, delis, things of this nature. And I had a route that I had, every single week. I would drive to these different stores, more stores than I could ever visit in a lifetime. I would go and I would get out of the truck, run inside, literally run inside, check their stock, make a suggested order, maybe sell a display to the manager or owner of the store, run back out to my truck and begin to fill out an invoice. Then I would load up the cases on a two-wheeler dolly and just running down the ramp into the store, however many trips it took me to do that, would stock the shelves, build the display, and then jump right back on the truck and go to the next store. I did this for several months, and I can tell you, I liked it. It was really fast-paced, and I liked the fact that I was able to sell and bring in the product at the same time right at that moment. For a couple of months in a row, I was the top salesman in this group. One day we were at Friday meetings. One of the wine managers walks up to me. I'd never met the guy before. I'd seen him in the office before. He walks up to me and he says, "Hey, are you Barron?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I hear you're pretty good at selling water." Well, I was maybe a little bit prideful would be the right word. And I just said something like, yeah, I'm number one. So, kind of what's it to you? He just kind of looked at me and he said, "Well, hey, do you know anything about wine?" Literally, I think to myself for a moment and I responded, "You know what? Some of my friends like wine coolers, but I really don't like them that much." And he looked at me like this, like disbelief. Did this guy just say that to me? He just said, "Okay, well, come with me. Do you have a minute?" I said, "Yeah." So I followed him back to his office. He had one of those little dorm fridges, just the little ones in the corner. Opened that thing up, pulled out a bottle of what I know now was a cheap German Riesling. It was sweet and cheap, that sort of thing. But keep in mind, I had never tasted a real wine, before. So he pours a little bit of that into the glass and he said, "Here, try that." Literally, I just swig it down. No smelling or anything. I had no clue. I swallowed it and I thought, "Oh man, I can sell that." And he looks at me and says, "Welcome to the wine business." So literally within a couple of weeks, not only was I selling water, but I was also selling wine. That was the beginning of my career, and I was able to work in many different locations, many different jobs and positions, and really enjoyed myself. But what I do want to tell you is that one of my jobs in the business was I was actually doing sales training and management training within the distributor. What I was doing was also recruiting from college campuses, literally talking to these people who had, maybe they've been a waiter or management within restaurants. I was involved in hundreds and hundreds of interviews. Part of the interviewing process was to ask people, what do they know about wine? And what do they know about certain wines from certain areas or regions, really trying to gauge what their wine knowledge was. Guys, as you can tell from my story is nothing like that. I don't want to give you pause, but I will tell you that my story is very unique. But I like to think about it, Jesus changed water into wine. I went from water into the wine business, spent 25 amazing years in that industry, just loved the people, had a real passion for wine. And now that I'm here in the southwest of Germany, bordered by France and Switzerland, just have an opportunity to taste wines from all over the world here as we are on mission and also have a ministry here in this area. So guys, thanks for listening. If you have any comments or questions, please ask me. I'd love to know what you think about my story. And so with that, I will say until next time, cheers.